Oh my gosh, I got so viscerally upset. He smacked his lips and he showed a bit of his
I'm
teeth.
sorry.
If we were dogs, I would have thought he wanted to fight me.
Stop! God bless, my friend.
So yeah, I think one of the things that people have been DMing me a lot about recently is, and I always forget how to say his name. It's either Alex Jean or Alex John, but he's a fairly recent Christian rapper, and he's pretty popular. I enjoy a lot of his music myself, but lately he's like really started partnering a lot with Transformation Church, with Mike Todd and their music making scene, and they have, I think, one or two songs out, and then just within the last week or so, they did a big event, and I need to look into it to see if it was literally a Sunday morning service. Because if it was, that, for me, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
For anybody that hasn't seen it or whatever, or for Matt, if you haven't seen it, basically what they did was like a concert, so much so to the point that Alex Jean had like a WWE WrestleMania intro, where he rides in sticking out of the sunroof of a Cybertruck. And it's like, okay. And there were a couple of things that just rubbed me the wrong way. First off, the spectacle of it. But at the same time, I straight up, because I myself attend technically a mega church. I don't like Christians that immediately brush something aside because it's too big or too nice. I think something can be big or nice or even flashy to a degree and still be beneficial to the kingdom, still be beneficial to Christianity and Christians as a whole. But one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way was the song itself. So the song, I'm fairly certain it's called Overflow. And it's talking about, being in the overflow of the blessings, but which is fine. That's a beautiful thing to be like, man, look at how I'm abounding with my blessings. I think all Christians are, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. I think the air that we breathe is a sign of the abounding blessings that we experience. But there's a part of this song, and part of the reason why it rubbed me the wrong way is we're in this church, we're in this mega church that already is known for some questionable, we'll say, teachings at times. But there's part of this song that's about like, I'm in the overflow of the blessings. Let me plant the seed again so that I can reap it even more. And it's like, it was almost like a tithe rap song, part of it at least. And that just didn't sit well with me. Like this giant, like this huge church that we're already in, just be like, hey, Lord, thank you for your blessings, but also make sure you're putting some back into the building. And it's like, and then, so there's that on top of the spectacle of it. Because again, if this is which I don't think it was, like the more that I think about it, I don't think it was a Sunday morning service. If it was, that'd be an additional problem for me. But we're in this church, this place that regardless of like how so many Western, especially American churches just look like a big office building, it's still supposed to be a special place. But we're having this theater, we're having this concert here, and this concert where the main song that we're singing is a lot about blessings, and not just blessings in general, but fiscal blessings. So there's a lot of it that I think to a lot of people just seemed wrong. Like a lot of people's comments were like, man, if Apostle Paul was here right now, like this, they would definitely be getting a letter. And I really genuinely try to not just immediately attack something. Because I think a lot of the times things can look a certain way and then you take a step back and it's not what you thought initially. But, and I have buddies that work with Transformation and that know some people there and stuff. And it's like, I want to be looking at this relatively like objectively, not just going with my biases, not just going with what I think about Mike Todd or Transformation or any of that. And it still just doesn't really sit well with me. And a lot of it, I think, for me, feeds into like our as the body of Christ, our misunderstanding of like what modesty is. And there's something about a spectacle like that in a church that seems very immodest to me. that, especially, I mean, you're taking this vehicle that I'm sure a lot of the people in the audience couldn't even afford if they wanted to. And we're just going to parade that down the center of the aisle or off to the side or whatever. We're just going to parade that down.
What was it?
Like it was a Cybertruck.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a Lambo, but still, like, a lot of the people in there are probably, you know, driving vehicles from 2002 or something. Who knows? But it's still, it just doesn't feel right. Like, it doesn't feel like, I just don't think this should be in a church. If this exact thing happened in, where's Transformation? It's in Oklahoma, right, Matt?
I think so. I'm not sure, honestly.
Whatever the stadium is in Oklahoma, because every freaking state has a stadium, whatever the stadium was, if that exact same thing was happening there, I don't have a problem with it. And if a Christian did, I'd be like, you kind of need to shut up, because you're going to a concert. You're there for this thing. But the building that it's happening in, the way that they did it, the song that they used, the already like not great background of what Transformation has become, the not great background of Mike Todd at times, it all just piles up into this thing that I think rightfully gives a lot of Christians like an icky, cringy feeling.
Yeah.
That, yeah, I just, and you know, people were like, oh, what's your opinion on it? And it's like, well, at some point, my opinion is just what anybody else's opinion would be, which is that I think that this is wrong. Like, even if I don't think it's thoroughly wrong, 100% wrong, I think it's still the wrong move. I think it's still excessive. And I think some people go at these things because, well, a lot of them because they just don't like rap. And they don't think that rap can be holy, or they don't think that rap can be glorifying God. And I find that, admittedly, pretty dumb. Because at some point, you really have to take a step back and be like, what are the lyrics? What is this about? What is this? Who are we constantly pointing towards, right? Because I agree that a song, if it was, well, kind of like this song Overflow, if it's just about, oh, look at what I'm getting, look at me, thanks God because of all the stuff I'm getting, and I'll put in more so that I get more, that's bad. That would be bad if people were singing that in a choir. That would be bad if that song was a hymn. That would be bad no matter what. But if it's all just about, look, you are the only one worthy of praise, one of my favorite kinds of songs in church, just the constant acknowledgement of who God is and who is the only one truly worthy of praise. There are a lot of rap songs like that. There are a lot of rappers who praise God in that way. So we can't look at it from that childish of a point of view. Like, something that makes sense in my mind, it might not make sense in anybody else's mind. I think that and this will seem like a jump, but the mind of a racist or the mind of somebody that has a prejudice is somebody who does not want to dive deeper. Yeah. It's the person that looks at this general thing and wants to make a general statement about all of it. And I'm not saying that all people that don't like rap music are racist. What I'm saying is all kinds of people that just have a general blanket prejudice about something all have a very similar mindset to that of a racist or that of a sexist or that of whatever, which is that I don't want to go deeper. I don't want to evaluate the individuals or the individual work or the individual person or the individual art. I just want to make a blanket statement because that's easier and I'm lazy. Mm-hmm. So we can't do that with these kinds of things. We really have to and again, going back to the laziness, it's hard. It's hard work to be like, let's look at this individual church, this individual teaching, this individual preaching. But we want to make these broad, general statements of stuff. And whenever we look at like incidents like this Alex Jean and Transformation Church thing, I think even whenever we get specific, even whenever we brush aside the people that just want to make general statements about big churches or rap music or whatever, and we look at the individual incident, I think it's still not great. I think it's still a bad look. So, yeah.
I feel that. I'm just watching it right here on YouTube. And one thing I was thinking, I was like, at least if they're driving a truck through the middle of a church or wherever venue they're at least it's an electric one. And they're not like, pouring noxious fumes into the audience and poisoning everyone. There's one good thing.
Like that's one thing where it's like you can look at something that's 75% bad and still be like, well, hey, at least they didn't do this. At least they didn't do that, right? I mean, even if this song is all about, I mean, here's another thing. This song is really about like the blessings that you get so you can invest more and get more blessings out of it. At least they're not like throwing cash around the stage, right? Nobody's seemingly, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know anything about like fashion brands or anything. Nobody's wearing like extravagant clothing. So it's like, at the very least, there are these things, but I do still think, yeah, it just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't feel right, especially whenever, if you saw that video and you told someone, by the way, that's in a church, I think most people would be like, huh, okay, I don't know about that. Even people that weren't necessarily Christian would probably be like, that doesn't feel very, I don't know, just driving a vehicle, period, down the aisleway where people, walk to go and praise and worship God. It doesn't sit right with me.
You mean you've never had a Cybertruck drive through the middle aisle of your church?
Well, I have, but that's different. So that's different because my church is different and mine is good because I like it. No, I just, like, I've had, my church, like I said, it's technically a mega church. It has over 2,000 regular attendees. We've had like big events, especially for like Christmas and stuff. Something my church does every year is they'll always have, a big kind of dramatic reenactment of the birth of Christ. And something that always, and I'm sure, well, I know tons of other churches do it, you got to get some animals in there. So they'll have people come down the aisles with like camels and with goats and with horses and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, that is really cool. And some people could look at that and go like, look at this. This is too showy. And it's like, well, first off, Jesus was quite literally born in a manger. So we can relate it back to the Bible and go, no, it's not that showy. It's not like they have 1,000 goats or 1,000. It's like, it's a few things. And it's a few things that are constantly what's on stage, Christ and his mother and his earthly father. And it's the focus is on that moment, the thing that happened so that later he could live his life and then give it up so that all of us could be reconciled to him. Hopefully, well, so that some of us could be reconciled back to him again one day.
Oh, Calvinism.
On God. What?
I said, Calvinism. Beep, beep. I gotta have like a Calvinism alarm or something.
But yeah, like the focus, especially whenever it comes to Christian art or especially something done by Christians that is labeled as Christian, right? Because somebody can be a Christian and they make a thing that doesn't necessarily point directly back to God. But if somebody is blatantly a Christian artist in a Christian building and what have you, it needs to be constantly pointing back to God. And whatever like show that you make of it, it needs to have a point and a purpose that lends to pointing people back to God. So, yeah. And I just don't see how, well, first off, a song all about blessings and specifically fiscal blessings and planting those seeds again so that I can reap more blessings. I understand where you can go like, oh, who's the blessing giver? But how much are you pointing to the blessing giver? Yeah. Like the whole song is about the blessings, and that's just different to me. And I'm sure plenty of people can hear that and go, well, dude, you're just being kind of a jerk about it. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But what are you going to do? This is my show. Welcome to God Bless, my friend. All right.
That intro, though.
Boom, right there. Oh, man. What are you going to do about it? God bless, my friend. But yeah, there always seems to be like incidents like this, and sometimes Christians can blow it out of proportion, and then whenever Christians blow it out of proportion and they're wrong about that, people will hold on to that, and then whenever there's an actual incident and people are like rightly being like, I don't feel so good about that. Well, remember whenever you blew this out of proportion? It doesn't matter. Let's look at the current thing. Like, genuinely, let's look at the current thing and see if maybe some people are right. Maybe some people are wrong. Inevitably, that's going to be the case. But, yeah. Yeah. Nice. So, something I wanted to ask you, Matt, because I know that you are a nerd like myself. Have you watched The Penguin?
Oh, yeah, dude. I did. I watched the first episode. I need to keep watching it. But the first episode is, like, it hooked me immediately.
Dog. Okay. Well, then I
won't go,
dude. Okay, I won't go full.
You wanted to have a deep discussion about like the intricacies of the show. I'm just beginning. I'm just diving in.
Dang. Dude. Okay. Let me try to remember. Oh my gosh. Okay. For anybody who has watched The Penguin all the way through, like me, goodness gracious, that show is so good.
It is good.
Back to Matt, who has only seen the first episode. The change, because it's an 8-episode season, the change from episode 1 to episode 8 is so drastic and so dramatic, but they pace it so perfectly throughout the show.
I like it.
Like, it's done so well, and you get this character from the Batman, which you've seen the Batman, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and they do such a great job of like, in the Batman, he's shown more of like this, tough criminal. He's leading a bunch of stuff, and then you really see how much he was propped up by Carmine, where like Carmine's gone, and within the first episode, he is not who he was in the Batman. Mm-hmm. And the show, obviously, again, I cannot spoil it because Matt's only seen the first episode, but the show clearly sets up that he is like, I need to get my get back. Like, I cannot just be this, like, bottom feeder. I can't be, so he has to recruit Vic. And he's like, I gotta start making a team. I gotta start making my way. And the way that they do that, and Colin Farrell is just an incredible actor.
He's
and
awesome.
Everybody nails it. And you know what? This was like a genuine out loud, I was like, oh, thank God, like, moment, where I watched a quick clip with the kid who plays Vic. And whenever the interviewer asked him whatever question, and he started responding, and bro, he had an American accent, and I was like, thank God we got a good American actor.
Yes.
Because I swear, everything, you'll watch something, and you're like, man, I like that guy. Let me go watch an interview with him. And they're like, bloody hell. And it's like, dang it.
Well, you see, my favorite part of the episode is... And it's like, no! I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, can't we just have any good American ones? But that kid, man, and you'll see, but just that kid is just so good.
When I was off screen, I was drinking me bottle of water.
Out of bloody spot, see? And then they click action, and I said, hello, how are you guys doing? And I wanted to lie to people. I wanted to give them some hope that there's another good American actor. Yeah. But yeah, that kid kills it. Everybody's killing it. And, well, yeah. Man, that sucks. I wish we had seen more of it, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, like, one thing I like about it is, like, how nerdy the detail, like, the attention to detail is on, like, the storytelling. Like, he talks to his mom, and his mom has issues, and it really develops him as a, personality right from the first episode. And you can tell there's something wrong with her, but then she like snaps to it and like grabs his face and is like, "Yeah, you're made for more. You're made for more than this Cobblepot. You're made for more." And you can just tell that he has, like, you can see that deep-seated desire to crawl his way to the very top because of his mom's influence and just his appearance and his limp. And it's like everything just comes together so well, even in the first episode. Like, the world that they're constructing is perfect, and I'm really glad they're making it. So like, I like getting into like the storytelling aspect, the character development aspect of it. So I can't wait to have a child that actually sleeps through the night, so I can like watch movies and not be dead tired at the end of the day.
Dude, and even to go back to like that scene, because I was trying to remember what's in like the first episode, second episode, that scene with his mom, they do such a great thing because it's like a trope at this point that, the hardened gangster, they have like this mean parent a lot of the time, like somebody that really beats him down. And they do a wonderful thing in that first episode where she asks him, like, are you going to be expletive? And you're sitting there for a second and you're like, oh, here we go, she's gonna be like the mean parent, but she's like, no, that's not who you are, you're my boy. And it's like, oh snap. So you can see that, like, that edge, that razor's edge that was probably like a lot of his life, a lot of his childhood was like his mom, who clearly, because I don't think there's really a mention of the dad in the first episode, but you just see that like mom had to be mom and dad, and just like what that can also kind of do to a person and the relationship with their son. And yeah, man, as that continues to grow and you just learn more and more about the backstory and you find out like how deep that connection really is, it's beautiful and it's amazing. Like I'm somebody else who also, because our friend Josh Nadeau, or Nadeau, whatever. He'll be upset that I messed it up either way. Yeah, no clue. He's a Canadian, so who cares? But he's somebody who I think, we're kindred spirits and we were quick friends because he appreciates God and he appreciates the beauty of God. And he agrees that one of the way that we as Christians like worship God and show our appreciation of God is to create good things, to create beauty, because, we're creations of the Creator. And whenever I see like a good movie or a good show, it doesn't even matter if it's made by Christians, because the goodness of it isn't from them. I mean, basically, the goodness of them is like a gift that they are given, an ability that they are given by God. And that resonates. That resonates because like good storytelling, especially nowadays, whenever like almost anybody can get something on some streaming service or put on YouTube or whatever, there's just so much of like music and art, period. But whenever somebody makes something good and it just like connects to you, that is incredible. That is incredible. And it typically, because I'm such a sap, it can make me really emotional, because you can see these beautiful moments that can contain so much that like the original creator didn't even intend for them to hold, but God intended. God can make, like he does with the cross, God can make this thing mean so much more. This thing that like on the surface looks like this, it means infinity. It means eternity. It means forever. And yeah, the work that God can do through the work of man is incredible. And it sounds so weird and dumb to be talking about the Penguin and say this, but it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, dude, one of the best movies, my goodness, that I've seen in like 10 years. Me and my wife watched Paddington 1 and Paddington 2.
Really?
And I don't remember the last time I cried that much. It's just so... It's just so sweet and beautiful. And it is one of those things where I'm like, man, whenever I have a good cry watching something, I have so much gratitude towards God, because I'm just like, the feeling that I get, I'm watching this bear with a hat on, and my face is wet. Yeah. And yeah, but a similar thing can be felt in like just seeing even something that's brutal, like the Penguin, because it is, but like there's still good art in that. And I mean, I think sometimes we as Christians can be like, oh, that's too violent, I have to like abstain from it. And it's like, well, how much of the Bible have you read?
I'm about to say, how much of the Bible?
What are you talking about? Like, do you not know the God we serve, that the God we serve has caused some brutal things, has allowed some brutality to happen, and dies a brutal death, but through all of it sprouts beauty, right? The beauty of God. And yeah, I think we can appreciate that in art.
That's not very Christ-like of you, Lord Giant.
My goodness, I just want to just reach through the phone. But it's like, no, I think if you don't appreciate beauty, now there's a difference between something being even like brutal or something being sacrilegious, but we're not saying that. I'm not saying like something that blatantly disrespects God or the image of God is like, man, that was done really well. Like, no, it's things can be done well that you wouldn't typically think of. That's part of the reason why, like, that's part of the aim of like my page or my presence in the Christian influencer sphere, is that like this thing, a Christian influencer does not have to look like what you think it should. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't have to be the soft piano. Bro, hold up. A quick aside. The other day I post one of my like rants, and somebody was like, man, you should put some music under this, and then it would just be a banger. And I was just like, shut. I was like, I don't need to. If I'm saying something that like emotionally connects with you, I at least don't feel the desire to be like, let me just add like a subtext of additional emotion to like really hook them. And like,
let me play devil's advocate real quick though, because like, you know, I'm your editor and I'm like editing some of your stuff, and some of your like your yaps that you send me, like they are so almost like theatrical that I almost was like tempted to put something underneath it just to like give it like a nice bass, like even like a pad or something. But then I thought, I was like, he probably wouldn't like that, so I just sent it to you as is, and I just edited it to be more of like a conversation. But bro, you're poetic, like you do poetic stuff, and I don't think it's too much to say, you know, get some music in there, let's get some cinematography or whatever. What do you think? Okay,
let me say this. Especially whenever other people do it, I have no problem with it. Like, people have made edits of some of my videos. People have like, whenever people, you know, they'll repost and they'll be like motivation, whatever, and they'll put some stuff. And I'm not saying I don't even like it. I'm just saying, for me and what I do directly from me, it feels less personal. Mm-hmm. So I understand how for some people it doesn't at all, right? All of us, if you're a Christian, you're watching this, all of us have seen an edit of Stuart and Cliff Nexley And you watch them and there's like the big resounding music and you're like, yeah. But there's something about, I think for me personally, and probably just some issues that I got rattling going on up here. Whenever I make a video, I want people sometimes to feel like they just got that directly from me to their phone.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I myself went in and like put some music or something under it, it would feel less like that to me. So like whenever you do your edits or somebody else does it of me, I'm not like all these sons of guns. No, I'm just like, okay. Like that's fine. That's great. But yeah, how did I start with that? I don't remember. Anyway, art is incredible and beautiful. And I think that we as Christians should be better at opening ourselves to more versions of it, more streams of it. Like I'm trying to do better about, I had there's a page, Kingdom Core on Instagram, who sent me a couple of like Christian metal songs.
Yes.
And I'm trying to, dude, he's so cool, the guy that I've talked to. And I'm trying to get a little bit more into it. And there was one of them, he sent me 3. There was one where I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. I can definitely get it. And I don't think like, I really do think it's like a simplistic, small mindset or childish mindset that goes like, oh, well, I don't like how it sounds, so it must be bad. And it's like, no, you wouldn't have liked the sound of Christ being whipped. Right? I wouldn't have liked that. None of us would have liked it, but it was still good. Which sounds weird. Like it was obviously a bad action, but it was a good thing because it was going towards this other thing. So if I can sit there and listen to Christian metal, even if I don't necessarily like it, I can still appreciate it, especially if I'm sitting there reading the lyrics and all about like, Hosanna, you are the God that laid down your life for me. By you, I have my redemption. Oh, 100%. There we go.
Yeah. Some of those metal bands have the best, most biblically based lyrics of all time. And I think too, like, if people don't like the sound, one of the conversations I had with my buddy Elias Dummer, former lead singer of the City Harmonic, he says that what Christians should be doing is interacting more with the culture. Like, there shouldn't be this big disconnect between Christian music and like secular music, to be honest, because all music is just an expression of art, an expression of self and personhood. So it's like, why are we, like, I know some people just want to draw this hard and fast line, but I think that it should be taken into consideration how we as Christians are still like in the world. We're not of the world, but we're still in it. Right. And music does belong to God. So it's like, why wouldn't God have music that can glorify him? That's like screamo or metal or grunge or whatever, or even like hip hop or rap. So that helped me as far like personally to navigate through that on like a sociological level. But like, what do you think?
Well, one of the things that comes to my mind that I could imagine somebody hearing that and maybe taking a spin on it. So let me see if I can get your thoughts on this. So the recent like Maverick City Music Glorilla thing.
Yes.
I think that is a bad version of that. So I think what it is I am all for, and I think I said this whenever the whole thing happened, if Glorilla featured on a Maverick City Music song on a Maverick City Music album, that would be a 180-degree different thing for me. Because what's happening there is you're taking this thing that hopefully is holy and God focused, and you're bringing somebody in, and they are now in this area where they do the same thing. Whenever we as Christians, though, we go on like Maverick City Music and Kirk Franklin, and I believe 1 or 2 other Christian artists were on that song. Whenever you go into a incredibly secular thing, not even vaguely secular, a couple songs later, she's talking about all the typical stuff that a Glorilla song is about. But you go into that album, and then you just kind of are a part of it. You're co-signing with your presence, like, yeah, this is cool too. And I think that's the bad version of what you were talking about.
It could be, yeah. And so actually I had this exact conversation with Elias, and he's the guy, I'm just going to be quoting him because he's like the man when it comes to worship music and Christian music in general. He's in like the upper echelon scholarly ranks when it comes to worship music. And he has something called the Worship Leader Research program that he's been doing, that they take all this sociological data, and it's awesome. I highly recommend it. Anyway, he basically says that it's not that it doesn't matter that they're engaging with a secular artist, but there's a part of this that we have to engage with these complex issues as Christians to begin with. Like, we have to be willing to have that relationship with the culture at large, and we have to be willing to have dialogue with the culture at large, because that in itself is healthier than not engaging with them at all. So that's his argument. I know there's lots, like you said, there's lots of ways to take this in a bad way, where you can say, like, the argument would be, well, if Glorilla, like a girl who's a Maverick City fan listens to Glorilla and she's like, this track is great, yay, and then the next track is like, I'm gonna do this to the man, and I'm gonna do this to the boy, and I'm gonna, you know, like, then you're like what he says is, like, parents have to be willing to tackle those complex issues. They have to be able to engage with those complex issues with their children and teach kids, rather than tell them that, like, you know, Glorilla's clearly the better option to listen to because her music's way cooler and more engaging and fun, rather than how Christian music actually has more potential to help grow you as a person. So, like, there's, you know, but like I said, music is an expression of humanity, an expression of culture. And like, there's lots of worries when we try and like mesh those two things together. But at the end of the day, I think all music belongs to God, and there's wisdom to be had, sure. But I think it's a complex situation when it comes to how Christian music interacts with like secular music, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the kinds of words that has almost lost its meaning, but it doesn't mean that the original meaning isn't still there, is nuance. Yeah. And it's like, that's a big issue, and most issues are nuanced because most things aren't black and white.
Shama's gonna roast you. I'm about to say Shama's about to roast you for this one.
Bro,
nuance.
Bro, hold on, dog. Hold up, dog. Any day of the week, Shama. Any day. Clip that, Shama. Hold up. So anyway, but no, like, absolutely, there's better ways and worse ways, and there's good and bad, and there's better and worse, right? It's this whole scale, and things go to and fro. And again, I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier of, like, often we want black and white. Often we kind of want laziness out of Christianity. And one of the things that came to mind whenever you were talking about that is that, you know, and people have said this many times before, but like the youth ministry or kids' church or Sunday school, that shouldn't be the only place where your children are being fed biblically, where they're being fed by the body of Christ, by Christ himself. And parents sometimes can take a back seat because they're like, well, you know, they're going to Sunday school. If they have a question, they can ask their youth pastor or whatever. And it's like, no, you need to be playing an active part in their life. And it isn't beneficial. Like, all of us, for the most part, can take a step back and look at the Amish, and we go like, no, that's not a really good way to live your life. That's really not, like, even though plenty of Amish people are happy, I'm saying this like an Amish person's going to see this. Even though
to my Amish listeners.
Hey, I'm not trying to be offensive. No, but like, most of us take a step back and go, that's a bit extreme. But a lot of us can be kind of that way of like, oh, completely cut it out because I don't want to deal with it. And it's like, no, you should deal with these things. We should be the ones who wrestle with God. Shout out to Jordan Peterson. But like, we should be Jacob. We should be the ones that like are going through these issues. And it's not a bad thing as a Christian that you do it. It'd be a bad thing if you did it alone. Yeah. Or like the thing that I often tell people is like, whenever you have questions about God, don't go to the world, because inevitably the world is never going to point you back to God. The world's never going to be like, yeah, you know, that whole Christianity thing, 100% keep at it. It's like, no, you can find your answers. You can find the solutions within the body of Christ, but the body of Christ also has to be willing to provide the solutions. The solution can't always be just turn the light off. Because the stuff is still in there, and eventually somebody's going to be stumbling around in the dark, and you don't want them to be lost in there because you never told them how to walk out. You never told them what was in there. You never told them how to deal with that stuff. So yeah. And you know, I think one of the reasons that parents are less and less hands-on in their like relationship with their children's faith is because we've bought into this idea that like, well, if you teach your kids about God, that's indoctrination. And for whatever reason, there's never a good way to like show kids, like, you should tell them about God, but don't like tell them that you should be a Christian and blah, blah, blah. And it's all these like ridiculous rules that we, again, take from the world and we go, well, I guess I'll apply that to my household in Christianity. And it's like, respectfully, absolutely not.
Womp, womp.
Like, I will never understand if you are a Christian and you believe that Jesus Christ died for your sins. if you believe that you needed him, otherwise you would spend an eternity apart from God, whatever you think hell is, you think that you would spend an eternity apart from him. How could I not tell my kid about that? How could I not raise him up to be in that and not be forceful or abusive or blah, 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 but like actually be Christ-like in my own home? I think that's ridiculous. I think it's lazy and I think it's dumb, but like not in like oh, you're dumb, I'm smart, get out of my face. But no, like sitting someone down and holding their hand and being like, you're being dumb. Now let's be smart together. Like,
so yeah, you're being dumb.
Yeah. I mean, you're being dumb, but I love you. Right. Isn't that?
Yeah.
That's what Jesus does, right? He condescends down to our level. He comes down and he's like, you big bunch of dummies.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and then they kill him. And then there you go. Because that's who we are. But yeah. So yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that nerd thing with the penguin, now that it's been 20 minutes since then. But also, I wanted to ask you, because we're both nerds, and I like conversing with nerds.
Yes.
Have you seen anything about the new Fantastic Four movie?
Bro, I'm just so allergic to any Fantastic Four stuff. Like, it's just such a lost cause.
Matt, shut your mouth. Okay? So I'm going to say this right now. So it's on vinyl. It's on wax. Okay? The two Fantastic Four movies that came out in the 2000s are good movies. Now, here's what I mean by that.
They're fun. They're fun. No. They're fun. I agree with you.
Oh, my gosh. I got so viscerally upset. For anybody that didn't hear what Matt did, he smacked his lips. And he showed a bit of his teeth.
Sorry.
If we were dogs, I would have thought he wanted to fight me. He smacked his lips. Anyway, they're fun. They're good, fun movies. They're good enough. Yeah. Not everything is about the end of the world. Everything isn't like a big beam in the sky. It is the Fantastic Four fighting Doctor Doom, and that is good enough. Yeah, I'm glad you put your face off the camera and I can't see you, and I can see part of your face, and it's upsetting me. But I wanted to ask you for one big reason. And let me preface this by saying I'm not a super big like, oh, Hollywood is all woke and all that stuff. I don't focus on that stuff a lot, okay? But one thing that I have seen is that apparently, I don't know if this is legit, but apparently they've cast the Silver Surfer for the Fantastic Four movie, and it's a woman.
Oh yeah.
And they're going with a version of the Silver Surfer that's a woman. And I just don't get it. I genuinely don't understand. I don't want to lean too much into the whole like, oh, go woke, go broke, blah, 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 Hollywood is all this, even though they keep showing that they are. It just feels like a bad idea. Who do you think you're pulling in? Who do you think you're getting? Like, who do you think cares that much about the Fantastic Four or Silver Surfer or even Marvel at this point? You want the nerds. You want the people who know about this stuff. Yeah. Just make it Norrin rad. Right. He was one of, if not the best thing about the second Fantastic Four movie.
Yes.
They killed his design. It was wonderful. But then if it really is like this woman who's this other version of the Silver Surfer, why? That's my question so often, is just, why are you doing this? Yeah. This doesn't seem like a good idea. But so I wanted to get your opinion about that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because it's like, if you're using the intellectual property that everybody loves to try and like nostalgia bait viewers, you'd think that you'd want to keep the source material intact and not take a big old dump on it. That's like the dumbest thing ever. Like, I don't know, like I kind of understand why, because the director wants to make a name for themselves if it does pop off and if it ends up being greater than the source material, which like literally never happens.
Right.
It's the most oxymoronic and like the community killing thing ever. Like, so, remember when Star Wars used to be fun? Like, it used to be, yeah, Star Wars. Now, like, almost every single thing that comes out of Star Wars is like, oh, this is cringe. What are you guys doing? Yeah. Because they just ruined the intellectual property for no reason other than just like they knew people were going to watch it to see if it was any good, and they just kept getting completely disappointed over and over and over again. So yeah, I'm looking for images here of like the female Silver Surfer to see if like how bad they ruined the
I saw like a post about it online, and it didn't seem like from like a joking place, but they said, I forget the name of the character that they said that she'll be playing, but it's like, I don't know, a lot of it, especially a lot with like the gender switching or the race switching or whatever. Again, and I'm not saying that that's always necessarily a bad thing. It just seems like a lot of it is like that classic old story of like, would you rather have $500 right now or like $1 a day, and it increases by $1 each day for this certain amount of time? And people are like, oh, I'll take the $500 right now. And it's like, yeah, but if you had just taken the $1 that doubles each day, you have no idea how quickly you would have so much more than that. And that is like a lot of like the Star Wars stuff or the Marvel stuff, or DC seems to be less affected by it, but I mean, they still got their own dumb stuff they do. DC just makes bad stuff.
Yeah, they're just
like
stupid.
That's what sucks. But yeah, like so much of it is just like, do you guys not know how business works? Like you and I and some other people were talking about this the other day. That is a problem in Christian marketing too, of like, let's get these like Christian influencers or these Christians together and just give them however much money, and then they'll just give us a glowing review of our mediocre movie. And it's like, I really don't think you understand how much more likely I'd be to watch your movie if I saw somebody that was like me, not saying give me money, but hey, hit me up. But seeing somebody that genuinely was like, hey, this was fine, this was decent. And I'd just be more likely, because it's real. It's more real than just, this was great and the message was incredible and you should just see it because Jesus Christ is Lord. And it's like, oh, you and I both know that's going to be a mediocre movie. But if somebody's just sitting there like, man, the acting was great, the story was well paced. Oh, okay, it wasn't perfect, but it was good. Great, I'm going to check that out. But it's like, the genuine, that's why, and to go back, that's why the Penguin is so good, because it feels real, it feels genuine, it's a good piece of art.
Yeah, I just looked at it. It looks like IGN says it's official that Marvel has confirmed Julia Garner will be playing Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four, arriving July 25th, 2025. And it looks like the female Silver Surfer's name is Shala Bal, so like it is canon to an extent, but I think it's definitely going to be inconsistent with which canon they're using, like which timeline, if they're going to be using I don't know. I don't know that much about Fantastic Four.
And not to get super nerdy about it, but I mean, here's the thing. And I'm 100%, I will gladly be wrong. If it isn't that Shala Bal is a female Silver Surfer, if it's that she's another herald of Galactus, I'm way more okay with that, because even though most people, like the normies, don't know that Galactus has heralds outside of the Silver Surfer, so they could go with that, but that would just seem again weird. Like that'd be something you introduce later.
Yeah.
But everybody knows Galactus. If they even know Galactus, they know Galactus and Silver Surfer, and if they know Silver Surfer, they know the bald man that is Norrin Rad. So I guess it all just depends on how they execute it. There's a couple of things about that movie that I'm actually like really looking forward to. One of them being, seemingly they're going to do like prosthetics for the Thing. That there's going to be like a real suit, that it's not going to be 100% CGI. As soon as I was seeing stuff like that, I was like, okay, like you could have me with that, because it's not that hard to pull off. Michael Chiklis was a good Thing. He was just like 5 feet tall. Like the Thing needs to be hulking. He needs to be intimidating, not just like a decently sized guy made of rocks.
Right. The Thing is massive.
He's like, he's not the size of the Hulk, but he's not way smaller. But yeah, man, I just...
Okay, sorry, here's what happens. The Surfer just bestows a portion of his cosmic power to Shala Bal while Mephisto is sending her back to her planet, and she's able to use his power to restore life to Zen-La. So it's like she temporarily becomes... she has Silver Surfer's powers.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They're not going to include Mephisto and Norrin Rad, and if they did, here's the thing. Here's my thing with some comic book stuff, and it looks like James Gunn is going to do this with the Superman movie. Man, just drop me in whenever this being already exists. Drop me in where it's like he's been living a life. Like all the James Gunn stuff, and I think James Gunn might be going overboard with the Superman movie. Man, there's like Guy Gardner, and there's Hawk Girl, and there's Mr. Terrific, and there's like the JLA, it looks like a lot of people, or the JSA. All already exist. Superman's already Superman. And there's part of me as a nerd that's like, that's what I'm talking about. I don't always need to see where these people come from. But something like that, you know they're going to change it. You know they're not going to go, okay, well, Shalabal got her powers because Mephisto and Norrin Rad and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, they'll probably just give her Norrin Rad's story. Where she did it to save her planet, but then he ate her planet anyway and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because it is Norrin Rad's wife, Shalabal, and so they're probably going to do something like that. Was like, I'm dying, take my powers, wife. You must go on. Something stupid like that.
She gets all silvery. She gets the surfboard and all that.
Yeah, I mean, ugh.
Yeah. I just, as a comic book fan, so much of stuff is just like. Okay.
By the way, like I don't know, we can include this or not, but one of the guys that attends my church, I'm really good friends with him. He was a Marvel like comic book calligrapher or whatever, like the guy who writes the word bubbles, and he's done like thousands and thousands and thousands of comic books, and he's currently working with DC on the Absolute series.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, he's the man. So we should bring him on and ask him whatever questions you want, and he'll be able to explain. He's the man, dude. He's a Christian. He's a Christian.
Well, I hope he was at your church. But
yeah.
Amen. Yeah, that's no, dude. That is sick.
Yeah, he's dope. He's 6'7" and has a beard like you, but he dyes it blue in the middle. It's like a big blue beard because he also identifies as a pirate. Not like in like the gender type.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm a pirate.
He's like, I'm a pirate. He's like, I'm a pirate. And I'm like, that's
sick.
He's dope. He's the man. You'll really like him, dude.
Dude, I cannot wait. Dude, yeah, we definitely got to talk to him. All right, y'all. That'll conclude the first episode of God Bless My Friend. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see these videos or these clips early, be sure to check us out on Patreon. And if you have any questions that you want us to answer on the podcast, be sure to email me at thelordsgiant@gmail.com. And as always, God bless, my friend.